we'll rip it. And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
Together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
And we're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Because when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It is still holding up.
Today is our 89th episode.
Ooh, 89. Nice.
What?
89 episodes. It's a good number. It's nice that we made it this far.
Right.
What? You don't think so?
No. It's a fine number. How about we move on?
Sure. So what are you still doing streaming from home?
Still sick. Everyone's still sick. Wife's still sick. Daughter's still sick. Other daughter's sick.
Well, that just sucks, man.
Yeah, it's the plague house here right now. I'm just waiting for that team in hazmat suits to arrive and put a tent over the whole place.
Well, then no offense when I say this, but I'm glad you're not here.
That's fair. I mean, kind of mean, but fair. Anyway, as always, we are here to answer development and design questions about Idle Champions. Femto Zeta asks, why does this feel so scripted? Because it's scripted and we're bad at writing scripts. Welcome to the show.
Yes, of course. Now, if you don't ask any questions, you are going to have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of 1992's E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Yes, it felt fitting, what with the hazmat men showing up and tenting the house.
Oh, so you're not all sick. You're just hiding a little glowing alien in your basement.
Hey, shh.
Oh, right, of course. Your secret is safe with me, and, well, hopefully our audience too.
Yes.
All right. As always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we did not get to last week, and we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, I do have a few updates on items that we had flagged to get looked at by the dev team. And actually, I think I do have a short list of items that did get updated, so that's great. So anyway, without further stalling for time, we're going to take a look at those. New doc. Aha! All right. So for fixes and features, we did get the notification added for unread changelogs, and that's been on the list for quite a while. I make sure I removed it from the other list. Good, it's gone. And along with that, we added a number of additional player-facing settings, including the option to not show the notification for unread changelogs. We're getting ahead of that. I know that'd probably be the next thing that players are asked for. An option to always display enemy information. There is a hotkey for that, which I can't tell you off the top of my head, but we've added it as a setting to make that a little bit more visible, as well as we added a setting so that the scaling of familiars, which was asked for and included in a more recent build, can be turned on or off, which is on the hero bar in case the size of the familiars there was not bothering you. We've also now rolled out the ability, or rolled out on Steam and on Epic, that is, the ability to place familiars in the potion manager. This is set up so familiars can be placed on either the individual potion, which will keep that potion upped every time it runs out of time, or you can put it on like the entire type, and that will just keep every potion on that type that runs out upped. Let's see what's next. We also added the option which was requested for not saving the feats with the formations. That's a toggle option now. I am aware there was a bug in the one that went out earlier today where when you go to overwrite a feat, or overwrite a save, it's still saved all of the feats. That is something that at this point has been corrected, and builds are in progress, and builds for Steam and Epic will be going out again shortly to take care of that saving. So there will be actually an option in the overwrite dialog to choose whether or not you are including the feats, and it will default to either, if there's 0 feats included, it will default to not including them, and if you have some feats included, it will default to including those feats. Yeah. Oh, and the last item here is adjusting the time gate piece timer to take into account offline time. We looked into that, and unless you squeaked in there and just sort of ninja fixed it, we looked at the code and it was already taking into account the amount of time from the from the time it was set to, not from the offline time. So that was already accounted for. So good. That was an easy fix. As far as items that are in progress, we do still have here to make it so that season champions are not included in the free time gate choices. Now that you can open 1,000 chests, we will be taking a pass on how many you can buy at a time. We're going to take a pass on making sure everything has a hotkey, adding a hide UI button for the lower UI. Looks like in progress of confirming all the areas have distractions properly assigned to them. We've done a pass on finding which areas don't have distractions on them. But it's my understanding that some of them purposefully didn't have distractions on them. And so we're going to sort out which ones were purposeful and which ones were not, and then make sure the ones that were not do get distractions assigned to them. We're going to set it up so that when you kick a player from the trials lobby, they can't just rejoin, and adjust the favor order display, just the favor display to not just be in ID order, to actually have some rhyme and reason to it. Okay, list is complete. On to leftover questions from last week's show. First question is from eBand, and the question is, have you considered having a hero that can exist in/be moved to any slot?
This is a great question, and it is pertinent because yes, we have, and we have recently. The hero that we were concerned about needing to move around between slots was Strongheart. And the reason we wanted to be able to move Strongheart around between slots is because you want to use Strongheart with your season champions. And Strongheart is, I think, currently in seat 10. And any season that we want to do that has a champion in slot 10 wouldn't necessarily work with Strongheart. And so the initial design that Design did, or 11, okay, we wanted to move him to 10. So any season we did that had a champion in slot 11 wouldn't work with Strongheart, which was a big deal. So our initial kind of design was to actually create these feats for Strongheart that would let you equip the feat, and he would swap to a different seat. And that turned out to be more complicated than we were willing to deal with in terms of technical debt. And we're ending up, we have to go a different direction with that, which likely means that we will not have a champion that can exist in different slots, bench slots, anytime soon. But if we do go down that route, then yeah, I think it'd be interesting, but technically complicated, I guess, is the reason that is not going to exist anytime soon.
Okay. Next question. This is from Gauntlet Blade, and they asked, when will Jonathan be added as patron, or as a
Jonathan!
patron?
I just brought this up because I thought it was pretty funny. And I watched something about the D&D movie last night that reminded me of the glory of Jonathan. But just as a kind of a more serious note, in terms of adding another patron, we're still a little bit up in the air about whether to do that, and if we do that, what kind of things to do to try and make the patron weekly challenges a little bit less like busy work and a little bit more doable, especially as we get up to 5 patrons and there's 5 sets potentially to do. So that's a thing we're going to have to solve before we get to a 5th patron, whether it's Jonathan or some other character from the D&D movie.
Okay. Next question is from Imaginal Disc. Are there any plans to increase the tiers of perks for each patron? I'm only a middling level player and I maxed out all 4 patrons already.
Yeah, so this is something we do from time to time. I'm not 100% sure the last time that we did the new patron perks. It wasn't too long ago. And generally when we do those, we try and scale them to the currently available influence, which of course scales exponentially. And so it means that shortly after usually doing a round of them, we'll put out some new adventures with a much higher area requirement, and that will just bump up the amount of influence you can get for each patron to the point at which it's pretty easy to max them out, as long as you can do every single variant that the patron offers. So yeah, there will be more patron perks coming down the road. I don't have a specific timeline, but definitely something we are planning to do.
Okay. Next question. This is from Minigrisk2. Sure. Asking, why does my weekly party have a champ that I don't even own? when I heard in another show that we all get a different weekly champ.
Yeah, so the answer to this is there's 3 champions in your weekly party. Generally, the first one will be one that we have picked for that week, and then the other 2 will be random ones, or not random ones, but ones based upon your champion usage. So the first one is one that we pick. Usually, it's thematic to the week if we pick one. Maybe it's thematic to the weekend promo or to something that's releasing that week or some DLC or something like that. And then the other 2 are based off of champions that you have had in your party over the last several weeks. And let's see, the last question here we'll give to you, Dave. It's from Rough Rider 1995.
I got it.
And they asked last week, can we get a sort option in the shop for price?
It's such a good question. The question isn't that's so good isn't why isn't can we get a sort option for price? It's why don't we have a sort option for price? How did we overlook that?
It's just a shop. I mean,
yeah. Why would you want to
someone
sort
in a shop care about the price of an item, right?
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Man.
Yes. I we can definitely put a sword into the shop for price. Jeez. Wow.
I didn't hit mute. Ah!
All right, let's move on. Starting with the new questions. We're not going to answer that first one, Justin?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Vincent Venom asks, what's up?
Yeah, I guess you didn't highlight it because we don't have a good answer. Cool, next question. The next question here is from Randram. Asking any timeline for when we can expect the 5% achievement for completing all adventures and variants in Waterdeep.
Yes, I'm going to highlight this question in yellow, and maybe Dave, you can pass that question on to Peter, because that does feel like something that should exist, considering it exists for Tomb of Annihilation. It should totally exist for Dragon Heist.
Piece of cake. Okay.
Next question is from Engel Tigra, who asked, or asks this week, when are we getting more 3D trailers? Clearly they're a fan of our amazing trailer.
No, that is a very, very good question. You know, I'm not really sure how much we can speak to that, given that we certainly had put some thought into another one, but where sort of that actually got to is sort of is kind of up in the air. So it's actually entirely possible that we'll get another one in the future. It's something I know that the Adam and Michelle, who are doing 3D trailers, would love to do, but I don't have an ETA on something on when we would be getting that. But it is definitely something that they'd like to have or like to do, and that some thought has been put into. So okay, next
one here is from Meow Arf Moo. Ah, yes, my favorite question giver. Who asks, is it possible to have more than 3 starred formations? And if not, then is there a technical reason / limitation as to why we can't have more? I know we can save a great number of formations, but it seems we can only add the quick access star to a max of 3. Since there are currently 6 spots in the bottom left vertical bar when the starred formations are listed, perhaps another column could be added directly next to it, adding spots 4 to 9.
Yeah, so obviously it's technically possible to have more than 3 starred formations. The main reason that we had set it to 3 there was because that was the initial, actually the initial number of formation save slots that you had per campaign was just the 3. The actual option to have an editor, or not an editor, but like a save them by name and have a big list and have more than 3 was something that we had actually added at a later point after the initial launch of the game. And so that initial 3, which is where the sort of the UI was designed for, comes from that initially the game only had the 3 saves at all. I think this is something that if we had a lot of requests for, players are really itching to get something like this, we could consider sort of expanding that UI and putting in some additional slots. But it's really something that there's not really a technical limitation reason for it. It's just sort of how it shook out. So like I say, if it was something that players really wanted, it could be something we could consider. But for now, 3 seems to be sort of a reasonable amount per campaign, and then being able to go in and save and select different ones if you need to. Okay.
Cool.
Next question. This one is from Randram. Titania's seemingly mighty sparse. Seemingly mighty sparse. Why am I reading this wrong?
There's no Lee there.
Seeming, yes, that's why. Reading is hard, people. Seeming mighty sparse. Titania's seeming mighty sparse, with only 2 GEs released. Any chance we could prio up the missing 4?
Yeah, so
I had such a hard time with that.
I don't know why you had such a hard time with that either. So I'm not personally involved in sort of picking which slots go up to GEs. I think it's generally done by the production team and marketing team based off of sort of popularity of champions and whatnot. So I am not sure the exact reason why Tatiana's not gotten a lot of GEs. But I guess I could make a note and ask the.
Let's tag it and ask Chris.
And see.
Tagged.
I'll add a note.
We'll find out.
Run with him.
Okay. Next question. Man, Justin, you just highlighted everything. You sure? Just...
Yeah. I love highlighting questions, man.
Okay.
Questions.
This next question is from Library of Akasha. Could you implement something I call direction stamping for Modron pieces? For uncommon to epic, undirected pipes allow us to add directions permanently to the undirected pipes. Am I reading that right?
I think so.
Looking at ByteGlow's Modron layout library, epic undirected pipes are pretty much never used in the best layouts. Change them into a wildcard.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what Library of Akasha is asking here is basically some way to make use of undirected epics. And undirected four-way epic pipes exist because undirected four-way blue pipes exist, and every pipe has a pipe to upgrade into. They're probably not super useful, like you say, in really good layouts, because you're going to want to have some control over that. And so they're just looking for a way to make use of those pipes. I think right now the best way to make use of those pipes is just to break them down and then use those component pieces to just update other ones. With that said, I mean, some sort of fancy way of crafting pipes for like with specific directions that you want. I mean, I can definitely see why people would want that. And maybe we could do something like that down the road. Right now, though, I mean, not having that gives people more of a reason to want more chests moving forward. I think the problem is if we did something like this, it would be a lot easier, potentially too much easier, to just be able to get basically the best layout. And not have to kind of just you'd be able to go to ByteGlow, grab the best layout, use all the crafting things to get the pipes you need, and then just use that without really thinking about the stuff that you've managed to get out of chests and what the best way to make use of that is. So I'm not sure I'm super interested in rushing towards something like that, because I think the challenge of the Modron game comes from making use of what you get to make the best kind of layout. So that's kind of where I am on that, but I could certainly change in the future.
All right.
Go ahead. Next question here. Yeah, you get this one.
Oh boy.
This one's from Angle Tiger again, who asks, what is something the other has done recently that deserves a shout out?
Well, so you're going to have to answer this too then, Justin. I think if it's going to be a two-way question. Yeah, I mean, what have you done recently other than, surviving the plague?
Like really sick, yes.
Yeah, I think the layouts that are coming along for the new collections dialogue looks really great, and that's something that I know, you put all the initial design into. So that's something that deserves a shout out, and certainly will when it gets completed and everyone's got it in their game hands. I don't know, so just going with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I think on your end, like obviously you don't put your hands into the specific code of Idle Champions all that much anymore, but I know you've spent a lot of time or spent a lot of time recently-ish working on a lot of server optimizations and the sort of the hardware side more than the actual software side. And I think that's made everything run a heck of a lot more smoothly. Specifically, that we used to kind of have issues around noon every day of sort of these drops, and I don't really think that I've seen many of those on the server status bar in the last month or three. So definitely a shout out for all those optimizations.
Yeah, it's definitely around like the chest opening optimizations was certainly something I pushed for. So, and then they happened, and they are beautiful, or at least 10 times faster. Okay, next question. This question is from Randram, asking for someone else. All right, sure. Okay, we believe you. How exactly do crits work? We've had differing explanations given when crits are multiplicative or additive. For example, does a 200% crit chance with a base damage 10 equate to 10 plus 10 plus 10? Or does it equate to 10 times 2 times 2? Justin said it was 10 times 2 times 2 on Developer Insights a few weeks ago, but the observed numbers do not match his explanation.
Yeah, this is a good question, and we've been chatting about this internally as well because it came up on some support tickets, which got forwarded into the channel, and then it got discussed. So I think what has happened is there has been a disconnect between design and implementation, and the design intention is for it to be 10 times 2 times 2. But it looks like it may have got implemented as 10 plus your crit multiplier times the number of crits. So that means that there is a disconnect there. And the last I heard about this is that it was going on the list to be fixed to be the way that design was intending it to be, which is going to be better across the board. So once that fix gets rolled out, crit will just become better again. It also means Catti-Brie will be like way better again, because the thing that Catti-Brie has that a lot of other champions don't have is an increase to the crit damage percent. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how Catti does with the fixed crit, but I think it will be okay, just because in my simulations of it, it does scale up equally with both things. It doesn't get too insane with crit damage scaling up or with crit percentage scaling up. So it should be okay, but if it's not, then yeah, I will eat those words.
Okay, and for any of those of us who missed it, exactly what is the exact intention of how the crit's going to work?
Yeah, each time that you get a crit, it's basically just applying your crit damage percentage again. So it should, if you have 100% crit damage, then if you did that if you're 10 base damage and you crit once, it should do 20 damage. If you crit twice, then it should do 40 damage, I think. And if you crit 3 times, it would do 80 damage, basically. Each time it would multiply by your crit damage percentage.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see. Yeah, next question here. This one's for you because it's about the Blacksmith Contracts, which I know you love, or I know Wilson loves. It's from Canellan, who asks, can we please have the option to sort by slot on the Blacksmith Contract screen again? This used to be the default sorting, but when the new sort/filters were added, it was removed entirely, and now you can only sort by release date, name, or item level. There is a filter for slots, but having to click the arrow 6+ times to get to the slot I want is genuinely just frustrating.
That is a fair request. I'm going to tag that, and I will take it to Nick Wilson, who developed that sorting dialogue, and he will be thrilled. Thrilled, I say, thrilled to add that option.
Cool. Next question is from Meow Arfmoo, who asks, would it be possible to add either an enemy type counter, perhaps a new tab in the journal, to help keep track of how many of which enemy types we've seen, even if it's only for the last X levels during the current run, or just a generic list of unique enemy types seen so far in the run?
Well, see, this just feels like a question that should have been for you, Justin,
This
so
does
that you
feel
could
like
discuss the new
I've
collections dialogue and all of the wonderful features that are going to be in it.
It does feel like a question for me. So I'm going to, as well as asking it, I'm also going to answer it.
Perfect. I'm not even needed.
You're here. You're needed to bounce it back. You're like a mirror. You just bounce things back at me. You are rubber. I am glue.
Okay.
So yeah, the answer to this is something that we are going to be implementing in the collection dialogue, not sort of as something that will do a running tally of things that you've killed, but rather a sort of a thing that you can look up by adventure to see what enemies are in the adventure. And you'll also be able to go to the adventure tab and sort or filter by enemy types or search by enemy types. So for example, when a season quest comes up that's like kill a whole bunch of monstrosity enemies, you'll be able to go into the collection dialogue, search for monstrosities, see all the adventures that they exist on, and sort of use that to figure out what adventures you're going to run to try and finish that season quest as quickly as possible. Same thing for bosses and whatnot. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do with that. It's a little bit different from what you were asking for here, Meowarfmoo, but I think it might kind of do a similar kind of thing to what you're looking for. It might give you the same information that you're looking for.
All right. I think that's definitely taking the cake for funny names for now, and see what silly things you can get us to say. Next question. This one is from Randram, and it says asking for someone else. And I think actually, now that I've seen this tagged again, I assume this is because these are questions that have come from actually like the Discord or something, and not that Randram is trying to imply that that they already know. But yeah, hope that's the case. Anyway, the question is the gameplay loop of starting an adventure, trying Dungeon Master, and resetting, if it's not the champion that you want, is awful. Maybe a rework where you just get to pick the champion you want, having to also run Dungeon Master alongside, which is already a drawback enough, as he isn't great and has few synergies.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've discussed on the channel, on the stream before.
Yep.
About how, you know, there are certainly when we try to implement randomness in champions, it can certainly backfire, because, you know, there's good randomness and there's bad randomness. I think the randomness of Dungeon Master picking which champion
is this
to pull
like
in,
good cholesterol and bad? How do you know the difference?
It is like good cholesterol and bad. Good cholesterol makes you feel good, and bad cholesterol makes you feel bad.
Is that true with a random?
It's exactly the same thing with randomness. I thought you were going as well. With that. Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's something where I think we do have to reevaluate. I think it exists in Dungeon Master. It exists in the Nerds Champion, which is actually the next question here that we are not going to answer because I'm kind of answering it in this one. It also exists for Voronika in picking her champion. Though we did a little bit better there because you can pick from 3, I think. So, you know, we were trying to kind of mitigate that a little bit. So I think that's, you know, these are places where I think they are deserving of a relook, and you know, there's kind of 2 ways that we can approach it, and one way is you can kind of pick which champion you want, which seems really powerful, and seems like it's you know, potentially a little bit too powerful to pick one from, you know, 120 champions or so. So I would like to limit it in some way, and I think the way that we'd probably change how you pick the champion, and then we would probably make it so that, you know, resetting or taking other actions wouldn't actually change the options until you know, did something. So really, if we're trying to mitigate that, being able to reset and reset and reset until you get the one you want, we would want to discourage that behavior by just not letting that work and kind of forcing you to work with the options you're given until you have a successful run with that option. and then we would switch it up to something else. Now, I don't know exactly how that would work. There's lots of caveats that I haven't mentioned or thought of, and it's something that will need a lot of thought before anything is implemented to rework that. But I definitely appreciate folks getting frustrated by that kind of bad randomness, and it is something that down the road we will have to address.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely, these kind of, when they were sort of in hindsight, this type of setup definitely seems like something that we'd sort of avoid doing just going forward, right? Like it seems like if there's anything in which you can take an action to sort of reset a random choice, and it's a kind of an annoying thing to do, we sort of were in what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're I say inspiring the wrong type of behavior, but that's not the word. Incentivizing the wrong type of behavior. Yeah. And then of course you feel bad because you have to do this to get through. But
it's not the wrong type of behavior. It's the unintended behavior.
Well, we're incentivizing behavior that isn't fun. Yes. So we're turning it into a chore. Yeah. And so it does seem like, I don't know, from my perspective, the solution offered doesn't seem like the worst solution, but it does seem like it might need some sort of a nerf attached to it, right? Such that you can bring in any champion you want, but they're limited in some way, so that it's not OP, and so that it's not also a case where like you don't get the champion you want and you reset over and over and over and over and over again. But it does seem like it's sort of post having this feature been rolled out, that it's a really, really tricky one to kind of correct in a way that works from a design balance standpoint and from a player frustration standpoint. It's a really tough one.
Okie dokie. It looks like it is time to run our world famous
aluminum chest giveaway.
42 chests of your choice. Any type of chest that exists in the game can be yours, and the way that you win is by typing the special keyword into chat. The special keyword that I definitely am never told, but will become available in chat very shortly. I figure if I vamp long enough, it will be entered into chat. There it is. It's still sick. Today's keyword is still sick. Type still sick, and you will be entered into the draw to win 42 chests of your choice. If you win, the mods will message you, or you message the mods. I'm not actually sure how it works if you win, but there is some way by which you will pick which chests you want. Let us know where your account is, and we will add 42 chests of that type to your account. Funny. Any type of chest, except for Gloria Bahama chests, and it has to exist in the game. And you should pick Motron chests.
Of course. It's just funny the way you said that. It makes me think of the. I don't know if you played the board game, or I guess it's not really. It's a mix of a board game, the one called Werewords, where they've got the phone-controlled sort of game of werewolf, and the phone actually runs the game.
Yeah, no, I haven't played that. I think you guys were playing that in the office.
Oh, we've played it quite a few times.
Month or two ago.
Yeah. But it's got like an announcer voice, and instead of it's not the keyword, it's the magic word. So you're like, type the magic word. It's like
the magic word is please. Okay, I see there are a couple of typos. Still stick is not the keyword. You will not be entered for that. Still sickle, Valen 76. I think you typoed. There's still chance to fix there. Okay, you fixed it. Still sick without the K.
The magic word is now.
The magic word is please.
That's right.
Good Lord, if I have to teach you guys to do this as well as my 3-year-old, I am not going to be happy.
That's right. What do you say?
But I am going to be still sick. So, all right.
You say it's about time.
Let us move on to some more questions.
Sure. Next question. This is from OG17, and they ask, a Vernus campaign has vehicle areas where enemies can't be damaged until they are close to the party. This means you're tanking them more immediately, but a more noticeable effect is how slow these areas are to complete, even if insta-killing. Could such areas at least allow click damage to hit these enemies like normal? Enemies that can be killed by clicks aren't a concern for tanking anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So the reason these enemies are not damageable until they're close to the party is because enemies are not damageable while they're spawning, and on the areas with the vehicles, enemies are not counted as spawned until they've jumped up onto the vehicle, because their actual spawn animation is to run on from the side, jump up onto the vehicle, and then they are spawned. I don't know that we would want to change that or hack something in so that they could be clicked while they're spawning. That feels a little bit dangerous to me. But I think that certainly spawn speed effects would make those areas go by faster.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure that that would apply to how quickly they run out and jump on to the
It should. It definitely should.
Doom vehicle. What is it called?
Doom buggy. I don't know what it's called. I'm going
the Mad
with Doom,
Max thing.
the Doom buggy.
Yeah. The Avernus mobile. So yeah, I don't think that I don't think this is unfortunately something we'll be able to change, but I would definitely consider a lot of spawn speed will help that go faster, and a season 5 champion that we've reworked will also help that go faster, because they will have a new unique speed ability that will definitely make this kind of thing go quicker. So yeah. Hashtag mild spoiler.
All right.
Next question here is, it's from Meow Arfmoo. Yay! They ask, when sorting time gates, I see there's an option to sort by item level, which shows all the champions ordered by most/least geared champions. I also noticed this does not account for any gear already found for champions not yet owned. Is this intentional or simply a tiny oversight? It would be nice to easily see which champions already have gear, as only the champions already obtained actually display the light little colored gear boxes across the bottom.
Huh.
What an interesting edge case.
Well, yeah, but that's also... I'm not entirely sure why that would be the case. I mean, we can definitely take a look at that and see what's happening code side. But the thing about that is, it seems to me like you'd actually have to have gone out of your way to not show those, because the champion, like the way that the system handles the champions for the data for the champions you own, is that it has a list of all of the champions, and it has a flag next to it that says, do you own this or not? And then it also has the equipment and other pieces just associated with that. And so that's why, when you get gear for a champion that you don't own, it's there, it's stored, it's ready to go when you do unlock that champion, and then that champion flag switches from that you have it to, or that you don't have it, to that you do have that champion. So when it's showing the displays for these, I assume sort of the base approach would be to, get the champion and then look at the gear that they have and show each gear item. And so the fact that it's not showing it there would suggest that
for champions you don't have, we purposefully show the other champions from that slot. I think we show who it swaps with, so that you can know, if you don't have a champion, who they swap with. The fact that it doesn't include the item levels they might have in terms of sorting, that does feel a little bit wonky.
Yeah, it seems like it would be included.
The display makes
see.
sense,
I
because
see
we
what
don't
you're
have
saying.
room to display both the items and the champions that they swap with.
But that it should be sorted by it, because it's there, it's on the it's the data on the champion. Yeah. Okay.
So they followed up here by saying that sorting by unowned and item levels does nothing at all. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we can take a look at that. I'll have a developer see what special case was actually added to that so that it doesn't work, because I assume it should be working.
I'm not too surprised that wouldn't have been tested, because not having gear for champions you don't own, like having gear for champions you don't own, is not a very common occurrence. Most kind of chests, like patron chests and the chests you get from streams, don't drop gear for champions you don't own. So you'd have to get a chest that specifically had gear for champions you don't own and was set to drop that gear as well, which is a pretty rare thing.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely not something that we call out, I don't think, anywhere else, to show that you don't have a champion and that champion has gear. So
yeah.
Okie dokie. Next question.
Hidden chest codes. Oh, they're hidden chest codes.
That would do it too. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. Next question. This is from Library of Akasha. Will this Trials of Mount Tiamat rehaul include changing the champion effects? At its core, at the core of it, it's the scales and assault party damage. It's very focused on a few specific champions, and that tier system in the champion effects is very weird.
Yeah, so definitely, I think that the sort of the champion you choose to send off on the assault party, and the way that the buffs work from that was not a great design, and that will actually be, the rehaul will include a complete removal of that design. So we will not be changing the champion effects. We will be removing all the champion effects. You will no longer be setting a champion that you send off on the assault party. Instead, there will be a different system by which you do things. So yeah.
Okay.
I can see folks are very excited about that.
Okay.
Let's see. Next question here is from Bozinius, who asks, have you thought about having a wild offer where we can choose from a list of retired items?
Yeah, so, I think a while back we did actually have a number of discussions around sort of how the wild offers were structured, and so I don't think specifically having an option of choosing from a list of items specifically came up, but I know one idea that was floated that didn't seem to be a terrible idea was having potentially multiple wild offers at the same time, which I think is kind of similar from choosing from a list of retired items. I can't remember now exactly why we sort of didn't opt to take that option at the time, but it's sort of always been floating there as the option to have potentially more than one wild offer option at a time, and you could pick between them. Is certainly something that we have thought about, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's out of the realm of possibility that it might be something that we'd experiment with in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Cornelian, and they ask, in the spoiler stream with Chris during the maintenance period, it's always spoilers with Chris. He mentioned how C&E was planning on adding the original or a Baldur's Gate 3 origin character to Idle Champions. Since then, Baldur's Gate 3 has announced a few more origin characters that are being added to their game. Were you already aware of these extra origin champs, or does it change the original assertion that all the origin characters would be coming to Idle Champions? And totally understand if this can't actually be answered and gets skipped.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how to answer this one, because I don't. Did Chris say that all of the BG3 origin characters would be coming to Champions, or just that we would be bringing some of the? Because all and some are obviously very different things, and my understanding is we're just bringing some.
Well, I mean, so during the maintenance period, I was transferring server data, so I was not watching Chris, so I cannot speak to this.
I was sitting in the corner rocking back and forth, hoping nothing went wrong. So I was also not watching that stream. I know we have at least 2 or 3. I don't know that we're going to get to all of them. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're not going to get to all of them. So that might have been a misspeak from Chris. So I don't know whether it's the ones that were in the sort of were released at that time are the ones that are coming, or whether we are including some of the extra ones that have been announced since then. But there are several coming.
There are definitely coming. Garwar in the chat says it sounded like all, but like I said, I can't speak to what Chris said during that window because
I'm pretty sure it's not all, at least not immediately. Maybe it's all, down the road. But I know we definitely don't have. I know there are more than the number that we have coming, or that we have sort of planned right now.
All right. Well, hopefully that's correct, and hopefully you were allowed to say that. That's okay.
Hey, if Chris wants to come down here and tell me I'm wrong, He is welcome to, and he's going to regret it more than I will.
He's gonna have to fight the hazmat team.
He's going to have to fight the Secret Service and the
Oh, it's got more exciting.
FBI. Who was it that came in ET to like take ET home? Was it the FBI, CIA,
Fox Mulder? I don't know.
the X-Men? What? No, X-Files.
That's right.
All right.
Never mind. Next question.
Yeah, next question here is from Genie313, who asks, or says, trying to use a specific number of blacksmithing contracts on a touchscreen can be tricky. Any chance of arrows being added to the UI to make it easier?
Yeah, that's actually probably a really good suggestion because I think the blacksmithing contracts goes up quite high at this point. Is that one that stops at 100, or is that one that goes further than that at this point? It's probably it's either it is or it's one that's been requested to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely been requested.
But yeah, definitely attempting to move the little slider on a tablet or phone. It's hard to get the precise number, so I'm going to tag that and we'll put it on the be nice to have list. Just got a little more precision. Okay. Next, they're saying still stops at 50. More would be better. Yes. Definitely requested. Okay. Next question. This is from OG17 asking, a while ago you were thinking of removing the favor consumption from legendary upgrades. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's still something that we're thinking about. I think having the favor requirement there is a good thing and makes it and gives you a challenge level that you have to reach before you're able to to buy that legendary level. And the favor consumption it was an okay idea, but it is not as impactful as just having that requirement to get to that favor level, because it's very easy to just have a background party or even just the current party already on that campaign at your sort of max level, and then just immediately get that consumed favor back upon resetting. So kind of a pointless thing. So yeah, likely something we will remove in the future, but a low-hanging fruit, or not a low-hanging fruit, a low priority fruit at this point.
What?
Yeah, so it's a low priority fruit, like an orange. Just a low priority fruit. Like no one's gonna go after an orange. You got like a cherry and like a strawberry and an orange. It's like the cherry and the strawberry are the ones people are going after.
Highly sought after? I guess it's how you prioritize them. I don't know. Some people are allergic to strawberries and they have to go for the orange or the cherry, Justin. I think.
Very sad for those people.
All right.
He's being fruitist. I am being fruitist. I'm sorry. You're right.
Oh dear. Next question. This question is... Sorry, I just stopped reading the chat. This question is from Henry Leon Wind. Could you please consider making all the windows on the fight screen, potions, Modron, inventory, season, tabs? I so often open the wrong one, especially potions versus Modron, and backing out is annoying. It'd be nicer just to have to click a tab header.
That's an interesting kind of question.
Now, all of those dialogues are different sizes, though. I think that's sort of where that starts to become a bit of a problem.
Modron and Season... No, Season's not even a full screen dialogue.
Modron is a full one. Season is a 720. Like Modron, I think expands to fill.
Modron is full screen.
Yeah, full
like
screen.
It's a windowed full screen essentially. Potions obviously pretty small.
The inventory screen is even smaller.
Small. Yeah.
And Seasons is 720p. Yeah, it's a little tricky because it would mean sort of all of the layouts for those respective dialogues would have to be changed to fit whatever the size that it should be probably full screen. I mean, I understand the how that could be frustrating, but I don't see a good way that we'd be able to sort of unify all of those without a full redesign on them. So
yeah, can you hit escape to close most of those windows?
You should be able to.
I wonder if that's just kind of an easy way. If you misclick, then just quickly hit escape assuming you've got your hands on your WASD when you're playing Idle Champions, you can just quickly hit escape.
And I think
then,
all of those
and then
dialogues
click
should
on
also
your
have hotkeys, right? So they're supposed to. And if they don't, they're on that list of adding hotkeys on every dial. Make sure that they all have hotkeys. I think Season doesn't have hotkeys, and that was one of the ones that's been requested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okie dokie. I love that the discussion is still about the best fruit in chat there. My kids like raspberries the best. We had to stop buying raspberries. We were spending way too much money on raspberries. So
raspberries are really expensive.
They're very expensive, and kids will eat like a little like carton of them. That's like, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like $7 or $8 now. They'll just eat that in like one sitting. And I'm like, my money.
But won't you?
I mean, yeah, but I'm an adult. They're like this tall.
Well,
literally,
they are delicious.
My 6-month-old will eat a carton of those in a minute.
Well, I don't know. They appreciate them at 6 months, so maybe, you know, yeah.
I get everywhere. Anyway.
Yeah. Next question. This question is from Fewer Pills, and they ask, can we get a change to the event achievements related to reaching a specific area in free plays? It's pretty weird to have 2 different achievements that literally have the same requirements for 175, 225, and 275. In a few events, that's going to be 3 achievements to reach 175. Maybe instead change them to 150, 175, 200, 225, 250, and 275, with year 7 having the achievement for area 300.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. This is definitely something that I've been thinking about as well. Initially, we decided to sort of loop them around in year 4 so that we didn't get the area requirements too high, that it would sort of scare off newer players, because we want, obviously, events are something that we want to be very accessible to everyone who plays the game, whether you've been playing for 6 years or whether you've been playing for 6 minutes. So it's kind of intimidating for a new player to come in and be like, I can just barely, get to area 50. And the requirement here is to get to area 300. I wish there was some sort of way to sort of just make those progressive just in general. So like the first one you get requires like area 150, and then the second one you get requires 175, and the third one requires 200 or something like that, without having it fixed to certain years, or maybe have it like, I don't know. We're still thinking about kind of the best way to go about that. Any change we make is going to have to sort of retroactively affect the old achievements, which should be fine for people who already have them, who have gotten to a high enough level in free plays in the events. But it is something that we're thinking about, that will need some more thought. One second, I will ask you a question in just a minute.
Oh dear.
Okay. This next question is from T5 Cats, who asks, thanks for the default D display. Too bad we still cannot read it most of the time. Any chance to add the current enemy HP to a box or tab?
So first of all, I think the default D display, which D is, I'm guessing is the hotkey on that, because this is the one that was mentioned at the top of the show, which is that now the option to always display the enemy information, which is now an option, so you can check it instead of having to hit the hotkey, is active. So that's showing like the health bar and the name and the level and that sort of stuff. Now, I guess too bad we still can't read it, and it's sort of because I get a lot of enemies on there at the time, or their speed is really high. It's going to be difficult to see that. So the request is, to add the current enemy HP to a box or some other information around the level. And I know this was something that was asked, or has been asked previously, and it is something that we haven't, fully decided on. Because I know this kind of came up previously. I just don't know we have a great place to put it, is really the issue, Justin. I think that was where we kind of landed on it, because it's maybe or under the area bar somewhere, or a tooltip up there might do it. It's certainly been sort of a lower priority item in that sense. Sort of, as I said, we sort of tagged it as like, well, we don't have a great place for this. But it's not information that we're like purposely trying to hide at this point. So I think it's just it's something that just needs a little bit of thought to have a place to put it. So, yeah. Okay.
Cool. Let's see. I think we have time for probably these last two questions here. So this one's from Fatherwind, and they ask, what are some of the larger tech debt pieces that you'd like to not exist?
Ooh,
this is a good question.
This is a question that I don't know that we can answer in the time remaining. And it's an interesting question because, you know, when I started to think about this, when I saw the question a moment ago, you know, there are things that have technical debt that are in the system that it exists, and it exists in that form because, you know, things evolved, and so without that system the game wouldn't work or exist, but sort of kind of make the technical debt disappear. Would be nice, sort of like the effects system, which is the system in the game that actually takes, you know, handles all the formation, all the champion abilities, all the formation abilities, all the buffs, all of those things, and sort of calculates what the end result is going to be. Is a very, very, very complicated system at this point, and it's had pieces added to it, you know, grafted on and grafted on and grafted on, which is what makes the game work. But it's you know, gotten us this far, which is, you know, awesome, but it also has got, you know, performance issues because it's so complicated, and it's also got sort of difficulty in terms of being able to understand how it all works, because as you keep adding additional systems to it and how they interact with each other, it gets more and more difficult to actually sort of hold it all in your head as a developer, which means that, you know, for what it does now, if we could take that and sort of shake out all of the things that it does as requirements and then design a new one that was more sort of engineered to do all of those things from the get-go, it would be something that would you know, be able to run faster, be easier to work with. So it'd be awesome if we could do that, but at the same time it would be an enormous undertaking that you know, wouldn't get us really ahead, would make it so that we didn't have time to focus on features and new champions. And so it's a tough question, because oftentimes that technical debt is the system that got you here. So
yeah, and it's also integrated at this point, like with a, you know, a client that is essentially 7 years old. Almost 8 years old, probably from the time that we started working on it. Like, it's
huge risk in pulling that apart.
Exactly. Every single thread you pull on to try and be like, hey, I can optimize this to make this run faster, and it's like, oh wait, I didn't know that this system 4 levels over was using the thing that was unoptimized, and you take it out and suddenly, you know, something stops working. You're like, I don't even understand why, and it's extremely extremely scary to make big changes.
For sure. Cool. I think that's all we've got time for today.
Yeah, so we'll just move this question into next week's. And if we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity. We plan to be live again at this same time next week, and hopefully I won't be sick. Come on. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Mars and also Gabe. They're the folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and help make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game, because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
All right. I got a good one for you today, Justin.
All right. Hit me.
The man who stole my diary recently passed away.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts are with his family. Totally got you to laugh.